first day of the week, very early in the morning, the women went to the tomb and they found that the stone had been rolled away. But when they entered, they didn't find the body of the Lord Jesus. When they were wondering about this, suddenly two men in clothes that gleamed like lightning stood beside them. In their fright, the women bowed down with their faces to the ground, but the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He's not here, he's risen. Remember how he told you, while he was still with you in Galilee, that the Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men to be crucified and on the third day be raised again?" Then they remembered his words. When they came back from the tomb, they told the other disciples the things that they had seen, but the others didn't believe the women, because their words seemed like nonsense. Peter got up and ran to the tomb. Bending over, he looked and saw the linens and wondered to himself what had happened. That's the way that Luke tells the story. If you've been sticking around for the first half hour here, you know that we've already read 3 other tellings of this. You know that they're not telling it all in the same way, that this is a story that in 4 Gospels is told in 4 different ways, different names, different happenings, different activities. The story of resurrection is one that is always too good to only tell in one way. It's too true to be locked into one story and one telling. It's just too good for all that. You know, this is normally a segment in the show that's called the Cripes, the Come On, and the You Gotta Be Kidding Me segment, where we're reminded that we live in a world that's not the way that it's supposed to be. We're living in a world that just doesn't quite work the way that it's supposed to be. Well, you don't get a better Cripes, a Come On, and a You Gotta Be Kidding Me than the Easter story. Here's a guy, Jesus, who doesn't do anything wrong, does all the things he's a guy's supposed to do, is defending the powerless, is sticking up for the people who are hurt, is trying to proclaim a story of God that involves all the people and all the places and all the times, and he ends up on the wrong side of religion. He ends up on the wrong side of the government. He ends up on the wrong side of the attitudes of the people. So, Cripes, come on. You got to be kidding me. The thing about the resurrection story is embedded right inside of the Cripes, and they come on, you got to be kidding me, is the resurrection stuff. Now, what I love about this reading, what I love about this Luke one, is, again, the 3rd reading we've done today, it's the women who are there. Kind of funny. You read the resurrection stories, and I do this all the time. I do it professionally. I do it because I like it. I do it just all kinds of ways. Women are the stars of the show. No question about it. Women, the stars of the show. They're the first ones there. They're the first ones to know. They're the first ones to believe. They're the first ones to share. All the way around. First starts with women. As Charles said in his call-in, if what's being described here is a whole new beginning to things, it starts with women. Isn't that kind of funny that we have, for so many people, an experience in religion that isn't anything like that? Anything about women being the first ones? In fact, sometimes they're the ones who are pushed aside. They're the ones who are held down. They're the ones who are told that they have to function in a different way than the way that the men can function, that they don't get to step into places of leadership. I just got to tell you, as a professional religious person, that's part of this story. It's got to rule the day. It's got to rule the day that the women who are the first ones to see, the first ones to hear, the first ones to find out. And it's a very personal story, this thing. I mean, it strikes people at a very personal kind of level. I asked these folks to tweet in to Facebook status, to send me emails, to send messages in one way or the other, if they wanted to give me some input on what their hinge point, their favorite part, the thing about Easter that really grabs them and does something for them. I mean, for me, it's life winning over death. It's hope that wins out over loss. It is goodness that wins out over pain and suffering. I mean, who doesn't need a little of that in their life? Because if you like that story, if you like that concept, I got to tell you, this Jesus thing, it's the way to go. Well, my friend Philip, he writes in and says, for him, the scene in the garden on that early Sunday morning. Now, for us, by the way, if you get confused about this first day of the week business, in the Jewish calendar, Saturday was the last day. That's the Sabbath. The first day of the week is Sunday. For a lot of us, because we tend to work on a work week, we tend to think the first day of the week is Monday. First day of the week, Sunday. That's why most calendars you buy start on Sunday, but you can buy those ones now that have a Monday start. We got one of those in our house, Grover. I was so confused. I couldn't read the calendar. It starts on Monday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday on one thing, and then you start over again on Monday on the left. I'm always going places on the wrong day.
That's weird.
Sunday's the first day. So, first day of the week, Sunday, Philip says. His favorite part, the scene in the garden Sunday morning, when the women show up to anoint Jesus' body, and Mary thinks she's the gardener. He's confused about who he is. Yeah, that story's coming. It's great. It's a great one. Looks right at the guy, doesn't understand him. Talk about that in the second half of the show, actually. Jeffrey Mitchell says this, I love Matthew's account where the angel sits on the stone at the tomb. It's his way of saying, yeah, love won out. Said, I know it seems a little bit like professional wrestling match and a cage match, but he still likes it. Bruce Epperly says, Mary, when she hears her name and recognizes Jesus, it's a personal thing for her. And it calls all of us to know that this is a story that goes by first names. I like that. I mean, that's the way that one could think about this story. That yes, it's a story of big things. I mean, it is, right? Like in history and certainly inside a Christian profession, the happenings of Easter, the happenings of Resurrection Sunday, the story that's being told, I mean, it's a big cosmic story. It's not just for individuals. It's not just for people. It's not just for an individual profession of faith. It is a cosmic story. In fact, theologians have been suggesting through the years, those who write in the Bible and those who have came along after the Bible was firmed up and closed down, that this is a story that enraptures all creation. It's not just for faithfulness. It's not just about believing stuff. It's the big daddy of them all. And we point to this resurrection happening in all of life. That's why spring is such a great time for these narratives, because you start to see that which was dead and it comes back to life, right? Those seeds that were planted in the ground, or a frozen lake. You ever think about one of those lakes you look at that a week ago had ice on it, and in 6 weeks you're going to be swimming in it? I mean, the pace at which that's happening all around us. But then inside of that is even this greater story of a personal invitation for people to be part of love winning out over hate, and life winning out over death and frustration and sorrow, all being done away with. Not in their totality, right? People in these stories, they're still confused, they're still wondering, they're afraid, they don't know what's happening. But there's a whole new thing being made here. There's a whole new beginning that's happening. There's something that's dawning. There's something good. And that's why people get up. And that's why they get up in the mornings. And that's why they keep telling these stories. And then throughout the rest of their lives. And what all out of us wish is that Easter wasn't just a big daddy holiday. Just the big one on the weekends, you know. The big one once a year. But it was the kind of story that people would live all the time. So that's why churches meet Sunday mornings. If you've ever wondered about that, the churches like to get together Sunday mornings. Now I'm at one of those churches. We meet Sunday nights. Because I think unless you're going to meet at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're really not doing the whole sunrise thing anyway. So you might as well meet in the evening. But that's why churches get together. That's why people do these kinds of things, is because we want to tell that story. We want to tell it in all the ways. And it's never been easy. Even though people like me get fired up about the story and like it and love it and want to tell it and want to sing it, doesn't make it any easier. It's not an easy story. It's just a good story. It's not one that makes everything even out. It's one that tells you someday things aren't going to be as they are. Become a people of hope. Hey, we got a second hour. My friend Michael Toy, you're going to hear from him in a minute too. Doug Pagitt Radio on AM 950, the voice of Minnesota.